Hello Fleet, and welcome back to another Monday Rules. And of course, before I start announcing the new challenge for this particular week, let's first look at the winning replay from last week's challenge, which, as some of you could remember, is the Albany and AP only challenge. And so the winner for our very first Monday Rules is Rogue Phoenix, and Rogue Phoenix has now won himself 1,250 doubloons, which I'll be sending to him shortly. So congratulations, Rogue, and of course it's time to show off your replay. During this replay, Rogue Phoenix manages 2 kills, although it was almost 3 kills, as in this particular time he is taking shots at this Chester. And luckily for that Chester, this island just managed to block off some of Rogue's shots, and so Rogue wasn't able to collect on this particular kill. Nevertheless, if you watch closely, the AP penetration, while some shells do overpenetrate and do only 300 damage, there are times where you can get penetration damage, which is actually quite respectable, because like 2 or 3 shots sometimes you can collect over 1,500 some odd damage. It's definitely not bad at all. In this particular case, I'm not actually sure if Rogue was playing with the advanced firing training skill or without, because had he had the advanced firing training skill, I'm pretty sure he would have actually been able to get some shots in on that Tenru, because the Albany, while the stock range of it is pretty atrocious, the skill, the captain skill that grants additional range to guns under 155mm can provide the Albany with somewhat respectable range at around 7.5 kilometers, which is certainly usable on a tier 2 ship. Nevertheless, in this particular case, well, Rogue Phoenix is going to try to do what he can to pick up some kills. There's a Samson over there, and typically with destroyers you would really wish you had HE, but one of the things I found is that if you can land a good number of hits with AP, even though the damage is obviously not as good as HE, it's still viable in terms of getting you damage. Rogue does get a little bit lucky there, as that destroyer took some pretty heavy damage and he manages to get in the last remaining shot and he bags himself that kill. What is really going to be a very nice engagement is actually Rogue closing the distance on that Tenru, and with the Albany without the advanced firing training skill, you do have to a lot of times think about cover and using islands to try to get within range. But a Tenru, once it does get within range of an Albany, can be killed off pretty quickly, because the Albany's AP can do quite a lot of damage. And so right about here, that Tenru pops up, and as you can see, around 4 kilometers is pretty much, showing off the entire broadside. And Rogue is going to start putting AP into the citadel areas of that Tenru. Tenru, however, does have torpedoes, so even at this particular point in time, if you're in an Albany, which is a very small ship, you still have to keep in mind that with torpedoes incoming, you still have to be in a good position, hopefully, to dodge. Which, in this particular case, had Rogue simply sailed his Albany forward, he would have been perfectly okay. Nevertheless, does manage to continue lobbing AP straight into the citadel area of the Tenru, and right about there, as the Tenru absorbs, I think, a torpedo hit, Rogue is able to kill him off with another citadel. So Rogue and his team, which are mostly already in the cap and leading in cap points, does eventually get the victory, and of course his 2 kills in an Albany. Nevertheless, I would like to show you an Albany battle, one of mine, and just what the Albany really can accomplish with AP only. So in this particular case, my division mate Majash here is fighting something like a 5-on-1 engagement, so I decided to help him out. First ship I target is the Chikuma, because the Chikuma is showing me a broadside, so of course AP straight into the citadel, 1 dead cruiser. First kill of the battle for me. Next priority target, however, are the destroyers, and that's because the Albany is really slow. So if the destroyers decide to come up and team up on you, their speed is a huge advantage, and it's going to be very difficult to deal with 2 fast moving ships with, of course, relatively fast torpedoes. So while this destroyer here is still engaged with me, Josh, I am going to be using my AP to do as much damage as possible and whittle away the HP of the destroyer. One thing you've probably noticed is that the AP doesn't exactly do terrible damage, and that's because even though when you overpen you only do 300 damage, if you can land like 3 hits, that's still 900 damage to the ship, and lower tier destroyers don't exactly have tons and tons of HP. So the near 1000 damage I take off per salvo is still quite substantial. Nevertheless, even at this particular time, I'm already taking lots and lots of fire, and things are not looking that good, to be honest. Still, I get a little bit lucky here as the torpedo just runs out of range, and so not taking massive torpedo damage is definitely helpful. This enemy destroyer decides to pop the smoke, but, well, when you decide to pop smoke and then go forward at full speed, you still kind of flash in and out, and as long as I can get a target lock on you, I can still bag myself kills. And there we go, that's kill number 2. Next up are the 2 Chesters. Now these 2 Chesters can pose quite a lot of problems for my lone Albany. 1, their combined HP pool is greater, and 2, their firepower is also greater. So once again, I've got to depend on the AP and the ability to hit citadels. First things first, of course, is try to take out the lowest HP Chester first, and that's because if I can kill this low HP Chester, I take his guns out of the battle, and making my ship last a little bit longer since I won't have to take so much damage. Once again, I get lucky, even though without engines, I was able to get away from those torpedoes, so thank God for that. Nevertheless, this first Chester that I was shooting at got him down to really low, decided to shoot him at the front where he doesn't have that much armor, it's all highly angled, bagged myself kill number 3. 1 destroyer, 1 Chester left, and of course my first target is that destroyer which with no HP dies to 1 salvo, and now this entire fight, which started as a 4-on-1, is now essentially a 1-on-1. And as long as I can hit the citadels, I should be okay. Even though I only have at this point 3,900 HP, I think, I'm still able to maneuver my ship into a good enough position that I'm able to land good hits. And even you can see that even at this particular time, I'm still trying to maintain best possible angle. Enemy Chester firing HE, so as long as he can't kill me fast enough with his HE, I am going to be able to citadel him to death. And at the lower tiers, citadels hurt like crazy, and right there 6,300 HP off, and that Chester is in a horrible fighting shape. 1 more citadel finishes him off, kill number 5, and I was able to repair just in time to survive with 347 HP. I still ended up losing this battle because nevertheless against a battleship there is just not much I could do, but hopefully this shows you that the Albany is perfectly viable with AP. And this week's Monday Rules Challenge is as follows. It is a Furutaka challenge, which means you are playing the Tier 5 Japanese cruiser, the Furutaka. You're allowed to use guns only, no torpedoes, and the guns cannot be either 200 or 203mm guns. You can only fire armor piercing. There is no HE. Aside from that, no other restrictions in terms of commander skills or consumables. The highest damage replay wins some doubloons. So good luck everybody, have some fun, and always remember, Monday rules.